So tell me about some of the goodies that you brought.
This is fun. So this is one of the cases we brought back. As you know, a lot of our members have gone a little over and above just a membership. They've gotten involved in a lot of things we do. So we've got some outstanding members that we're kind of treating, and call it, or building their equitable pile. So this isn't all of them. This is just the ones that were brought back on this trip. And so through a few.
Let's do it.
Right. I'm not going to completely pull them out. I think their names are engraved on the back, so you'll just start from the beginning. So we got one of the rare colors on an Oyster Perpetual. These are all Rolexes, by the way. This is the pistachio dial. So this one and this blue dial date just are both for Sandy. She wanted the boys to have them instead of have her name on it. So each of her boys are engraved on the back. Then we've got two matching bromance, Will and Will. Yeah, they do everything together. So it was pretty cool. She said, I'd like to, split the value of what I can do in half and give my business partner Will, because it's kind of a nice story, because the way that Wilson says, I get to go around exploring, doing all these fancy things, that there's someone back home always taking care of the Edmonton business side. He says, let's get one for Wes. Those two sky dwellers, white face, one's for Will, one's for Wilson. This one I haven't allocated yet. This is a very rare sky dweller. This is rose gold with the blue dial. I don't know if you can see that is one of the most beautiful colored dials that Rolex makes. And I can't really see in the low light, but it's really nice. These are actually for some other friends. It has nothing to do with any of that kind of stuff. Over here, we've got, we're playing with some of the big boys, the day dates. This is champagne dial over yellow gold. That is for member. I've got a couple of these ones. So I got to make sure I get it right. It's for Jenny. Yeah, Jenny's been with this since she's traveled with this. She came to Italy. Bunch of fun things. Superstar. Works hard, raised a family, runs her business, and just amazing. Here we've got the rose gold date with the chocolate dial. This one's for Cassandra. That one I do know, because that's the specific color that she picked. She's traveled with us as well. Very cool. And for here we've got white gold with blue face, date 8. And this one, because I know that we're going to have 3 of them. This one particularly is for Daniel. He chose one of the Daniels, many Daniels.
Lots of duplicate names.
Oh, yeah. This is definitely not a duplicate name. This one is absolutely wrapped up at its, keeping everything protected. This is a platinum meteorite dial, date 8. So obviously this has to go to someone special, and that's for producer Mac. I don't even have to look at the back. I know exactly.
Oh yeah,
this is one of the most difficult Rolex models to get. It's the most difficult date 8. He's kind of like an astronomer. He likes his looking up at stars and such. I thought this was a really good one of the ones that's going towards him. So this is very, very difficult to get. And if you want a little bit of a, what would you call it, like geological history on it. So in 1838, a meteorite was discovered in Namibia, and Rolex acquired some of that meteorite. So it's a very rare item, and that's what that dial is made out of. So yeah, that's what we got here. Next time I'm in, like obviously these are going to have to go back on the jet back to Dubai anyway. But next time we're in, bring in for the rest of the members are waiting to see their beauties, and just for the acknowledgement of the fact that they've been with us for a few years and have played at a much higher level than most everyone's. I mean, eventually your name will be on one of these. Yeah, very cool.
Very
All that
cool.
stuff. Again, not watches, assets.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to asset acquisition, as a person starts their journey and their journey evolves, what's best practice for storage of such a thing? Do you just have it at a centralized location, like somewhere like Dubai, or where does it go?
Yeah, these like any other asset, think of a house. First thing you do is you get it appraised, you put insurance on,
Yeah.
and you take it out of as many conditions for damage, loss, theft as possible. These sit in the vault. And like I've mentioned before, you might not be able to see it on camera, but as you can see, like they're fully stickered.
Yeah.
Can't scratch these. Like people would say, why would you put them in? They might touch each other. No, there's sticker. It's a special jewelry sticker that is, it's very, like when it wraps on itself, it sticks to itself, kind of like saran wrap, but much thicker, and you can feel it. It's
like the electronic material when you're buying new electronics comes with that same.
Yeah, and this is a much higher degree because it won't tarnish, it won't stain, it won't leave any gunk of those precious metals.
Yeah.
And these are all very high density foam. Like they're soft, but they're very hard to compress. So nothing in here is going to get damaged. You wouldn't want to get scratches on. Everything in here is worth more in the secondary market than it would cost to get from your Rolex AD. Like this watch right here. Yeah, if you looked it up on Rolex in US dollars, like 6,000. Because of the rarity, you'd have to pay probably 11,000 US just to get one or something. So even inside all the model ranges, they're desirable. I think in using that as the example, it's the exact same watch. You change the dial to Tiffany blue, and now you're going to add even 50% more than that one. The base price is the same from Rolex. They don't change the cost of it just because it's got a dial or it's less produced. Then you've got the celebrations down. At one point, they were 4 or 5 times the MSRP. So it's whatever's in demand at the time, and that's how they determine it. But back to your question, yeah, you always want to take care of your assets, just like a house, just like a client.com. I mean, even the one I'm wearing, like I said, it's got the sticker on, just in case I bang against something.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you find that a lot of people that you come across will store their assets long term, or do some people do alternative methods like maybe trading up or?
Oh, absolutely. Like, are you talking assets in general or like watches?
Maybe within the specific parameters of watches.
Okay. This is a very big game. There's people, we'll use Rolex again just because it's here. The beautiful system of Rolex is that it's a name that's understood. It's a name that stands for something. It's not the world's most luxurious watch. To people that can afford one, they think that's the pyramid. That's at the top. But there's many more, let's say, in the horology world, much more complicated watches. Like those 3 Sky Dwellers that were in here are called Rolex's most complicated watch. They're actually called complications. That's how they're, the date, the day. Anything that makes it more than just time is considered a complication because you have to then, in a watch that thick, have all the gears to make the day turn, the month turn, the date. It's incredible. They have moon phase watches. I'm saying this so we can get to the point of the question that you asked. If you want this and you don't have the money to buy in the secondary, because this is only I think $48,000 to $52,000 MSRP, but you would have had to spend $250,000 just to get in line to be on a waiting list to buy one. Mm-hmm. And in the secondary market, it's more expensive, 100, because of its rarity. If you don't have the 100, you got to wait. So this is where the tiered system works very well. Rolex has very, very few Rolex stores. Those are typically just display stores in very big cities, so you can see the model that you're going to just, desire, crave for the rest of your life, just to tease you with, oh, one day I could own a Daytona. One day I could have one of those day dates. One day I could have one of those off-catalog gem sets. But you got to start with your Explorer, your OPs and stuff like that, under $10,000. So Rolex will work with the ADs, the authorized dealers, to place the ability to buy through them. Very, very desirable from those jewelry stores because they make no money selling the watch. They're only going to, on like the Submariner or something like that, they're not even going to make $1,500 selling you the watch. What they get to do is say, Kristen would like to buy its very first entry-level Rolex, an Explorer NP, something like that. I'm only going to sell it for like 8,400 Canadian dollars just because we're in Canada. I'm not back to this. We'll put him on a waiting list. But if he buys $15,000 to $20,000 worth of jewelry in the store, which is a huge markup, jewelry is always 400% to 800%, so that's where they're going to make their money. They get to dangle the beautiful entry-level Rolex that's going to get you into the Rolex Plate game, but you got to buy $15,000 to $20,000 worth of jewelry to start that process. You don't want the Explorer. You want your first Submariner. You want your first Datejust. You want to get to a Daytona one day, but you have to buy that to start playing that game. So you buy it. And in previous years past, let's say before 2020, 2021, if it was papered, not worn, you'd probably get your money or maybe $500 more just selling it off. Because there'd always be someone who doesn't want to wait or doesn't want to have to buy the jewelry. Cool, you've done that. What happened for the pandemic with people getting free money and a lot of people just trying to trade assets to make money, it drove up prices on even something like an Explorer well over $10,000. We're not even going to get into that. That's just supply and demand at the lowest levels. But then Kristen goes back on now he's on the waiting list for his Oyster Perpetual, the Submariner, which will require, 2 or 3 more years wait for that. Second tier watch. They don't do anything else. They still just tell time. Some of them just have a date on it as well. You're going to now have to spend in that 2 years that you're waiting, you can spend another $20,000, $25,000. Then when your allocation comes up, they'll call you. And if that's not the watch you want, same thing. Sell it off, recover your money or as much as you can, wait for the next level up, which could be another 2 to 4 years. The current wait time, even for people that are qualified for something like a Daytona like this, is 8 to 10 years. Now, after that long, we'll go back to, do people trade? Do people long hold? The answer is always yes. There's people that play the game differently. There's just people that love watches. So whenever they get the chance to level up, the AD calls, answer is yes. I'm keeping it. I'm putting it in the vault. I'll never wear it. Or damn right, I'm going to buy it. I'm taking it to the next cigar night. There is no right or wrong way to do it because you've worked for the funds to buy that watch. Enjoy the hell out of it. If it makes you happier to just look at them in a nice case, get them insured, and they never move, but to you, people would say, oh, that's pretentious. Why do you have $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 worth of watches over 20 years? You could buy a house. Maybe they already have a house. Maybe they don't need another house. But this, they can go and say, oh, this was that $6,000 watch that started the whole thing for me. But I remembered I bought that because I got my first raise. I started my first business, my first $10,000 month. Your first house means a lot, but your second means nothing. Your third means nothing. For memories, you've got this display case of achievement in the form of what people think is a watch. It's not a watch. It's an asset, especially when you get the ones that are always worth you. Now let's talk about the long holds. I have a 1979 Rolex Datejust. Solid gold, yellow gold. It actually came with a leather strap at the time, and the person who had bought it put on a presidential strap, so that would come off the dates. It was all that presidential strap. It's just a nickname because the presidents were wearing it. That bracelet only comes on a date. But he wanted it so bad that when he could save up the money and the dealer was willing to sell him when he bought it, had a Coronas, had a Datejust. That watch in 1979 is unfathomable $1,800. That was more than a year's worth of mortgage payments in 1979. That's what achievement used to be before you could just walk in with a credit card or a line of credit and go into debt to look like you achieved something. That's what Rolex does. Same. Like I said, it's not the highest quality watch out. Is it a great watch? Absolutely. Is it a great investment? Some of them. what it used to mean and why fathers would pass them down to their children. I mean, this was your conscience point. You cannot put a value. But now let's go to the investment side of it. That $1,800 watch, fast forward to 2025, getting it appraised now because it's got a solid gold bracelet. It's a solid gold case, 18 karat, but still solid. There's no other alloys in the car, no other cheaper metals in there. Is now a $30,000 watch. Now that's not a great growth if you consider that that's 45 years. But what has the dollar done in the last 45 years? What you used to be able to buy for $1, what could you buy for $1 in 1970? $1 gas back then was probably 8 cents a liter, I'm guessing. So you could get 12.5 liters of gas for $1. 12.5 liters of gas right now, $15 at this morning. So your dollar's gone backwards 15 times. But this watch has gone forward. It's exactly 15 times. So when you're looking at the spread, because people will just take static value, okay, right now versus later. Yeah, but if you held that dollar and didn't invest it properly, it just lost 15 times its value. Mm-hmm. So you're actually 15 this way, and you didn't lose the 15 the other way from the dollar. Now it's 30 times. Now it's starting to look like a pretty decent thing to do instead of holding dollars. Mm-hmm. That was a very long-winded explanation because there is no simple answer when you start choosing the world of equity building. Are there more lucrative investments? Absolutely. Are there worse? Absolutely. So which are the best avenues to invest for your future? The easiest, simplest answer that any investment broker would tell you that isn't just trying to make the money by you giving them for them to invest it is put it where you know that market. So if you know watches and you'll buy stuff not based on just what you want, but what you know goes up in value and demand year for year. That's basically the word for word terminology of supply and demand. If you follow those rules, if you like watches, you're taking what the world knows as watches and calling them assets because they're going to go up in value, or there's a really good chance.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett, what does he know about making money? Nothing, because he doesn't make money. He grows assets. He takes paper currency that devalues every second of every day and will put it somewhere that goes up in value, not day after day, but if you take this month versus last year, January, versus 5 years ago, January, versus 10 years ago, January, he knows. He doesn't buy into what he doesn't know. He buys what he does know. And he plays 10, 15, 20 years out and will trust it. He doesn't take a risk because he's not just risking his own equity, he's risking everything else's. So there is no right or wrong. It's what you're going to pay the most attention to. If you don't have any interest in real estate, please stay out of real estate. If you don't know anything about this, please stay out of watches. Just look at them and say, ooh, shiny, nice. There's a million different answers. Right and wrong are subjective. Truths are truths. And your truth will be based on what you know. I think that's the best way to look at it.
When you're thinking about valuation of watches, what do you think is the biggest lever? Is it the number of different components in that watch, or is it the precious metals, or somewhere in the middle?
See, this is where I never advise people, but I will make the statement, stay out of watches as investments if you don't understand market. Because what you just said would be how you would evaluate a stock, how you would evaluate a potential car value. The watch market is completely, if someone decides that something isn't worth anything, then it's just not worth anything. You've got some amazingly rare and technological marvels made by MB&F. Even Bulova, watches that, they have watches that are as thick as a credit card, but have 5 or 6 complications. Do you know how much time it would have taken to develop that? And that's That's a movement sitting inside a case. Like a watch, the case is what's attached to the strap, but everything, like this is the chronograph. This is a Daytona. It tells your time. You have a gear that's running your seconds, minutes, hours, and then you've got your stopwatch built into there. You've got your month. You've got all of that is layers of gears, and it has to fit within this. Now imagine shrinking that down to 1.8 millimeters. For anyone who doesn't know what Richard Mille is, go look at the Richard Mille, what is it, the UP01 or something? I don't know, RM01 UP, I don't know. It's the Ferrari, the Richard Mille Ferrari, and it's like 1.8 mils. It doesn't even make sense. It's like wearing a big chip on your wrist, but it's not digital. It's all mechanical. There's gears in there making that work. Doesn't make sense. Some of these watches, they're ridiculously expensive because of their rarity and technicality. They could be $800,000. The moment you buy it, it's worth $500,000. How is that fair? If you're talking about investments.
Yeah.
And then something that tens of thousands of people can have, a Rolex OP and a pistachio, which is one of the rarest colors. I think it's the third rarest buy. If you're not counting like the diamond sets and all that kind of stuff, I believe the Celebrations and the Tiffany are more rare dial faces to get, but the pistachio is right up there. It's going to be currently one of the top 5. But I guarantee you 10,000 people could buy one this year. It's just more than 10,000 wanted, drove up the price. Those watches that are technological marvels didn't do it. It made the initial price very expensive, but if you were to go sell it, you'll lose half. Does not make sense. And you've got Jacob & Co., where they'll wrap, Jacob Arabu loves his flash, his flare, and some of those, they're a little beyond my taste. But for people that love that look, they've literally got a billionaire watch. I think it's $6 million. It's encrusted with gems and just phenomenal artistry and jewelry making. But you'd never get that if you tried to resell it. There's no rhyme or reason other than what's on demand and time. If you're trying to, and this is why it's so difficult to answer the questions, because are you asking it from I want to buy it and flip it? I want to buy it and hold it for 5 years, hold it for 10 years, hold it for 3 generations? Because that's a different question. It's kind of like how I tell people gold isn't an investment. Just because we can see spikes like right now does not mean it's an investment. It just happened to swing up. But if you take a step back and look at gold for 100 years, it had a bunch of these, it had a bunch of these, but it did this. That's not an investment, really. An investment is something that typically should just keep going up. And I know that's what it's doing, but not at a rate of reasonable return if you take it over history. You're going to want it within a lifetime that you could say, okay, it's 10x, 20x. I put 40 years into it. Gold only looks like that at certain points where it flips up. What gold is a long-term savings plan that beats inflation. Because like I said, dollar in 1979 and the dollar now has no value. You can do nothing with it. What used to be a 5-cent candy is now 50 cents. So what is a dollar worth? Nothing. You're looking for something that offsets inflationary costs. Over the last 5 years, we've seen inflation as high as 7.9. Gold beat that. Mm-hmm. So it's just a strong savings plan. A lot of people are arguing, I don't care, I'm not it. You know what we do. We're attached to mining, refining, recycling of precious metals. This is how we look at it. But maybe the average person on the street knows more. Cool, whatever. I'm not concerned what people do or don't think. But I like to use the right terminology.
That makes sense. And I mean, I think it's wise for most people to look at it through a lens of like, how does this current decision affect me 10 years from now? And then to basic criteria of long-term instead of short-term, because anything where you're wanting like a quick win or a quick whatever, like liability increases so much.
I define risk because everybody wants to know, well, what would win without any risk? It's like, oh, wow. You don't want to learn anything. You just want the answer and hopefully it works. Risk is just a function of lack of Because look at, we talked about this, and I showed you 4 different scenarios where it plays completely different roles. A lot of it had to do with time. The longer you play something, the lower the risk. You give yourself more time to recover, to bounce back, to average down. People don't even know what that means. Let's say you bought this cup of coffee for $5 and you were holding it. You want it to be worth more in the future. Oh, next month it's only worth $4. Panic sellers sell off and lose that dollar. Wealthy people, or people that got wealthy, said, oh, I used to buy it at $5, now I can buy it at $4. I'm going to buy more at $4. So if you had 100 cups of coffee at $5, what would cost you $500? You can buy the next 100 cups of coffee at $4. Now you've averaged down. Now your average cost across all your shares is $4.50. So the moment it only has to bounce back up to $4.51, and now you're 1 cent up on 200 shares. So every time it dips, you don't panic sell, which causes more of a dip, which is why people panic. Just buy more there.
Yeah.
People believe the world is rigged. And yeah, markets are played, but it has to be you that decides to sell your asset when you're panicking, because the wealthy don't sell anything. The wealthy hold assets. When you sell, yes, you can, if you register a loss, you can put it against future gains. But selling is a long process, a lot of paperwork. You just buy more at the lower price and bring all the value, or the acquired value, to a lower money. That gives more, because if they're going to play the long game anyways, that just means, okay, the first purchase was a little too high. The second purchase allowed them to bring their cost down, because it's not like, well, I'm only investing once. That first 100 shares is all I'm ever going to do. No. Every opportunity you have to buy a dip, that's where the cliche comes from, that saying, do it. Because you're going to keep averaging down, but you're going to hold it over 20 years. So that 20-year growth is going to be on an even bigger spread every time you average down. That's what's amazing. It's time is the biggest factor in mitigating risk or getting a result out of it. The longer you have, the longer you can estate plan, which means you can determine when you want to pull some of those assets or never, or they can put them into a trust. So your charity can be done for the rest. We're now expanding on a much bigger game. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because this is what the average mindset, or broke mindset, doesn't understand about how the wealth mindset works. The wealth mindset is, I'm building up a stockpile for the future, not cash. The wealthy do not afford cash. We just discussed inflation chews out of currency. So you don't get wealthy by losing money. They're stockpiling assets, taking those assets, leveraging to buy more assets. The spread is the equity, because they want 20 years from now to have the life complete, all the variables completely taken care of. I know where I live, food, properties around the world. Not to brag. These aren't bragging rights. You just think they're bragging rights because you don't have it and you're jealous. So you think that they're bragging. People with things don't actually brag. I don't care whether people have this or not. This is technically out of my hands. I just get to trade them for a larger degree. This is mine. I have access to wear it. The desire for someone to say it's mine, they have to pay for it personally, is what makes people broke. Oh, I see a rich person with a Mercedes. We can't really afford to buy one, but I'll take that $1,400 a month payment so I can own the Mercedes that the CEO does. CEO gets to drive his or gets driven around in his because the corporation bought it for him. You're going in the whole $1,400 a month in a depreciating asset to try and look like the CEO. And this is what people don't get, because they want to say it's theirs. So now who's the greedy? The people ruin themselves because of their greed to show off what it is they have. I have access, like I said, to wear a 6-figure watch. I have no interest at all in taking out of my life to go and buy a watch, even if it's worth more later. That means has no value to me. I don't care whether you think this is mine, if I'm just wearing it or flexing it. No, none of that is relevant. The only thing that's relevant is your future taken care of? That should be the only question that matters. Showing off today at the expense of your future is the dumbest thing anyone can do. Well, what would I think? I don't care people's opinions on what I'm saying. And I don't judge people if they do the other thing. If that makes them happy in the moment to be broke, then go be broke. I'm not actually insulting them. I'm just saying that's the difference between where they are and the people they hate because they believe these people took advantage of them somehow. This is just Mercedes and their CEO making $8 million a year because you decided to buy. Mercedes doesn't know whether you financed it, leased it, or bought it outright secondhand. They just know another unit moved. Their value went up. Your equitable value over time went down. Mercedes does not care.
So one thing that I notice often is when it comes to like stocks, investing, anything to do with money, is that when people make decisions tied to emotion, quality of the decision gets less. And at any level, I think emotion could impact people. In the world of watches and what you've witnessed with other people, have you ever noticed where emotion has blurred people's judgments?
Again, this could be 10 more minutes of ranting. Absolutely. A lot of people stopped buying the watches they liked and were proud of because they wanted the one that was resellable really quick and ringing the market. You know what? Go on right here, I can show you. Rolex work. This comes out of the GMT line. This is a bimetal, so you've got your stainless steel and your rose gold. It doesn't cost more to make this one than it does a Pepsi or a Pepsi. It doesn't matter. You can have a different strap on. This particular one you had to go with the Oyster Flexible bicolor, whereas this one this is a non-precious metal, but it's got the Jubilee bracelet lock. Very desirable. Things like that actually affect the outcome, but that's not how you feel. That's just a fact. The Jubilee is a dressier watch, a strap, so that brings up the value. Let me just do a conversion to Canadian. If you get called by your AD, your authorized dealer, to purchase this, it's roughly $18,900. Because during the big swing up there in 22 and 23, this was one of the very, very sought after, we'll call it affordable watches. Something you could put on your credit card or on your line of credit. The price of these went stupid in the secondary market. So instead of going to buy the one you wanted, you'd go and say, I can make money off this because for the secondary market, I can pick one up for 25, 28, and I can sell it for 30 because it's just going up. But what about the guy that went and bought it at $32,000, $34,000 for a watch that Rolex sold brand new for $18,400 to $18,900 because it's gone up a little bit for a year. Now, the aftermarket is still higher than retail, but you're lucky if you'll get 21,000 Canadian for this 18,900. What if you bought it at 32? Now all this is going to remind you is that you lost $10,000-$12,000 when you could have just bought the watch you wanted. Emotion, or even just the desire to own something before you should, because you have credit, that really gets people into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not specifically on watching. It's anything that you used credit, which means you're going to have to pay interest to acquire. Do you actually want it? Or do you just want it because your credit allows you to buy it and you can show it off, and then 2 weeks later no one cares and you need to go buy something else? And that ruins, but much like the Mercedes, that ruins people and their chances so quick. The example I always use is very specific to males because we're very showy in our late teens and 20s because we're trying to show a position in life that we haven't earned yet because that's the status within our groups of males, as well as trying to impress females. Those are the critical times to build, because with compounding, this is the critical times to set up your mid to late 30s if you start in your late teens, early 20s. The quick access to credit right now is destroying so many young males. Trying to impress, trying to learn a social media influencer, trying to sell you a course based on having a watch they couldn't afford to buy, and they're really hoping you buy a course so they can pay off their credit card after buying a watch. And it's a shame. Seeing it at my age and having lived through so many people doing that, you know exactly what you trying to claw yourself back out of that hole for these people is very difficult. Interest rates are going up. The value of goods is going up. The value of debt is just, we're holding more than we ever have. So seeing them make those mistakes, pre-28 years old, it's really destroying the rest of their life. It makes relationships difficult when you're worried about finances. Acquiring a home is very difficult when you're in debt. Anything that you do out of emotion or impulse is going to 90% of the time be detrimental to your future.
Yeah.
When you see me, when was the last time you seen me buy anything like that? Have you ever seen me? Bought this hat.
You buy coffee,
Pastries, things that they do make me happy in the moment, but I do not care to buy things to say that I have. I can live. If they set up a bed right there, I'm okay sleeping there. People think I'm homeless. I don't care, because sleeping is just something I do to be awake the next day. I don't need a $5 million home. You see access to around the world. I get to stay in those places. Cool. That doesn't make my sleep better, because the Villa in the Caribbean is $22 million appraised value. The pool's nice to swim in, but that doesn't make my life better, because I would never buy something like that.
Yeah.
That's completely market dependent. If no one ever wants to buy that, it doesn't matter what it's appraised at, because I can never sell it. Then there's the whole game of, well, if it's appraised at that, I can borrow against it to acquire more assets. That's a different game, which I enjoy playing that game, but I have no interest in personally saying, that's mine. Who's impressed when you tell people what you have? People that have less than that. What could possibly be interested in trying to impress someone who's impressed by things that you say are yours? That's the wrong table.
Yeah.
Those type of things are never discussed at tables of wealth. They do not care. Just got back from Dubai. Do you think I could possibly flex any of the this? We're literally in a 7-star hotel that these families helped build. There's no property on the planet that you're going to flex over the Al-Rab.
Yeah.
The Khalifa. What are you gonna? Oh, I got this. I got that. I got a 50 meter yacht. And meanwhile, they're looking up, in the 120th floor, and you can still see their yacht. You're a mile in the sky, and you can still see their yacht in the marina. I don't think bragging about a yacht's going to impress them. You tell them what charity you're doing, and they're all ears. Talk about a project that you can all do together. You're all ears.
Yeah.
That's the difference between wealthy and what the average people perceive the wealthy. The wealthy don't care about money.
One thing that I'm picking out from helping people make good decisions with regards to watches is that if the acquisition is merit-based, then it's probably going to be a better decision than if it's not. Meaning that, like, merit-based would mean that they had done the amount of effort to acquire the wealth that they needed to trade for a watch. Whereas sometimes people want to cut corners and they'll leverage credit thinking that that would earn the watch, but it's not merit-based because they didn't have to do anything of value to access that credit.
And that goes back to what I was saying 20 minutes ago about that 79 Rolex. If you walked into a room wearing it, the people in that room, very few younger people are going to understand what I'm about to say, because anyone can look rich with credit. In 1979, credit cards with a $2,000 limit didn't even really exist except for corporate executives. You didn't have line of credits. You did not have access to just go buy whatever you want like you do now. So no one understands or respects what that Rolex meant back then. And this isn't necessarily why you buy it, but you probably bought it because you reached a milestone. Like we said, there was that respect of, on this date, I got that raise. My business crossed $1 million. I sold my first house. So when you walk into a room in the 80s with that watch, people be like, He's commemorating something. He or she, sorry, I was going to say. It meant something in that way without having to say anything. Nowadays, anyone can buy a watch that they can just walk in and buy. It doesn't have to mean anything. So then you're looking at how it's worn and how it's discussed. So if you're at a table of people who've made like timepieces and someone says, and they might even be testing you, oh, that's a classic or a collector or a vintage Rolex. Datejust. How do you come across something like that? If your answer is, oh, I was shopping in London and I just decided to buy it. They may not judge that. That is a lower tiered response. They know that you just go around buying what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that. What you're actually going to get if it's got a story behind. Oh, well, this is what I acquired when I sold my first business. And I really did. I don't usually spend money, but I commemorated that moment with this watch, and it's my favorite piece because of this. Or my father purchased it, and he brought his family over to Canada and started a business, and the business, starting from nothing, actually got to the point where purchasing it did not hurt the family. That person heard a completely different answer. It's the same watch. That person heard a completely different answer. Yet the dollar value that it's worth, whether you can afford it, is irrelevant. The story behind it, now you've just piqued their interest.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely different.
I find that's an important like discernment skill, and it pops up for me with seeing people on social media. Like you alluded to the people who are like selling courses and claiming to have like a skill set that is kind of empty and hollow. Hearing what people are focused on when it comes to their milestones or their knowledge helps to filter in the people who could actually be a catalyst in a group from the people who would just be loud voices, just kind of repeating what's already been said, not adding anything new or innovative.
The one that always comes to mind, and I know he doesn't care what I'm saying. Do you know who Wes Watson is? The guy who was in prison and he came out and changed his life, tattooed his beard.
Oh, I hear about people like that all the time.
But it was funny because he just kind of hit the scene, put a lot of quality into his content. His team's going to come in. You know, that typical driving the Ferrari, watching jewelry's hanging out, he's looking over, that all greasy. Me and my team are going to come in and scale you to this and that. Cool, it's going to make him money. But anybody with wealth, if they were scrolling social media for some reason, would go next, because that's not wealth.
Yeah.
That's your friends or a rented Lambo. You can rent jewelry. You can rent watches. Tattoos in certain circles are a sign of lack of wealth. I'm not saying it's a direct correlation, but people that mark up their body heavily typically value something other than their future positioning, we'll call it. I know that's going to offend a lot of people. It's not meant to. It's just the truth. I'm offended. We should be. We should be terrible. And I only brought up Wes because he was just, he's always a name that comes up in, if you're scrolling YouTube for something, it's a name that will come up. But it helped him get wealthy. Nothing he did for the people that bought his courses made them wealthy, because it's all information that anyone could know.
Yeah.
He just packaged it into, look at the Lambo. Go on, how that relates to what you were asking. What is the person looking at that attracts? A wealthy people does not care about your hurricane. So your media isn't curated for someone wealthy. Your media is curated for someone who can't afford a Lambo but wants one. Your media is curated to someone who can't afford the watch but wants one. So you buy your course to get there. If you just let people talk and watch their actions, it tells you everything you need to know about. So if you remove your personal, I want that, and just look at it as content, what's this content say? I can get you everything that you can buy if you buy my course. Okay. You can't, you clearly have no critical thinking skills if you think you need to buy that course to get there. So, it's neither here nor there. Having that conversation doesn't change our lives. I'm just hoping someone that watches this understands that there's no exchange of money in what we're doing. You don't pay to learn anything at the seminars. Why would we charge you? We don't need money. Wealthy people don't need money. So why would someone charge you for a course? Felt like you're hiring them to physically come in and build your business for you. That would make sense. That is a provable skill that you would pay for to bring them in. They're just going to give you some uneducated, grade level bullshit. But that's already dying off. It made a bunch of people very wealthy for the last 6 or 7 years. And hopefully they did something good with it. Because, I mean, it's just entertainment. If someone paid for it, then even these online course sellers deserve the money if they figured out how to give you the entertainment that made you want to buy a $10,000 course. They're not legally obligated to generate $10,000 a month for you, because you're the person that then takes this piece of information and either does or doesn't apply it into their life. Say, well, that isn't the road that I would go. I have no problem with you doing it. So if you just watch what people say and watch what people do, most are what they do, because you can lie with words. You can't lie with actions.
Yeah.
So watching what someone does is the easiest way to tell if they even know what they're talking. Social media is a great tool to build your brand, build your business, get knowledge.
They can lead people astray very fast and violently.
Imagine if young humans, children, kids, teenagers, whatever you want to call them, put as much time into studying in school as they do listening to influencers on social media. Wow. We'd have a bunch of kids that come out of university. They'd be the top doctors. Well, I mean, doctors were always doctors, so they're usually quite intelligent and they put the effort in school. But everyone would be so much more educated than just regurgitating the same crap that they heard on social media. Because that's how easy it is to manipulate young minds. They can tell you that you're being held back because no opportunity. If you don't buy their course, you're going to be left behind.
I mean, I have a bunch of young cousins in Denmark, and they'll come across the influencers. Then they'll be telling me what they learned about drop shipping and this and that and the other thing. And I have to help them create a filter for themselves to see, like, contextually, like, this is how that person said that they were successful. And this is the part of the journey that they didn't share. Or this is, like, the outcome that isn't public. And then they start to be able to make more critical decision.
Yeah.
But it's just to witness firsthand how easy it is for, like, clever, smart, young kids to be like, oh, well, that's what I should do. But in reality, they'd be better off to either apply themselves academically or even just, like, shadow somebody, like shadow a grandpa or an uncle in the shop and learn how to weld,
Well, that's actually a skill. Once you have a skill, if it's monetary gain that you're looking for, you can always trade that skill for currency, which you then go and invest. You can do that for the rest of your life if you know how to weld. Knowing how to buy and sell courses is only valid when somebody, and you know enough to actually sell them a product where they're not going to say this is bullshit. You're relying too much on what they do with the knowledge. Like when we created what we did, like you became a member, we were investing for the future, saying, are these people going to help us go feed the homeless? Are you going to help us fill the food bank with food? So we front loaded it by doing the same thing, which is quiet, giving out the knowledge that you should know anyways. What do you want to learn? Real estate, precious metals, stock market, budgeting, finances, global trade, hoping that the long run would be, we don't need money from you. We need your hands to help in charity. And if you guys grow monetarily, then you guys can come do things. We can build schools and hospitals around the world like we do. We treated it like an investment for the future of the community, as opposed to, give us money, we'll teach you this. What we can do with money? We don't need money.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not judging the influencers. But like you said, no one even bothers to think what they're going to get out of buying a course from someone they've never met. Like you couldn't become a member of our community if you didn't live in the city, because I insist that you come and have coffee. I need to know if you're full of shit or if you got ChatGPT to write a message to me to make it sound like you're more intelligent than you are. If you're as intelligent as you wanted this message to look, not intelligent, if you had the knowledge of what you wanted this message to look like, you wouldn't be reaching out to us to ask, should I buy my first home? The mortgage rate look like over the next 5 years, because the banks know what the mortgage rates are going to be. Bank of Canada knows where interest rates are going to be. Anyone who's in the world of investing knows where the mortgage rates are going to be. I need to go ask one of them. I don't need to sell you a course. Back in 2020, we told you where the mortgage rates were going to be in 2023, and we were bang on with it 0.25%. It's just math. It wasn't how we felt, but at the same time, we said, for those of you who are now stuck in a terrible mortgage, hopefully you're variable, because this is where they'll be by the end of 2025. Mathematically, that's exactly where they are. This isn't crystal ball shit. You just have to learn what a mortgage is and how it works. What is an interest rate? What determines all of that? Once you know, it's not something you got to sell some secret information. You either know or you don't. So we just tell you guys. Don't need to charge you for that. Come help us. Like yesterday, one of our members said, 2 days ago, one of our members said, I got tomorrow off. Let's go feed in the community. Yeah, I'm sure. You want to check the freezers? What do we got? Oh, okay, cool. We got hundreds of hot dogs. We've got some frozen turkey. We're going to make barbecue turkey sandwiches and hot dog. And just make 100 and we'll walk around the shelters. Yeah, it was cold. It's winter. Doesn't matter. We just get packaged up, bundled up, and we go feed people. That's what I wanted from you guys.
Mhm.
So it's taken a few years, but now we've got a large group of people that do things in the community. That's our payment, was the effort, because we want to see our city. We want to see people take care of people. We want money from you guys. So it took a while, but we invest. Hopefully, even over those same years, people took the knowledge that they learned and applied it into their lives. So their businesses get better. Maybe they started a business. Maybe they started investing. Maybe they paid off their debt. Maybe they got their first home based on more knowledge than a broker or a realtor who needed to make the sale would tell them.
Yeah.
The bank doesn't give a shit what rate you sign out, because they know where it's going to be. We have no bias in it, because all we want is to see you do better, because you doing better doesn't hurt us. It just means you're in a better place to make better decisions, to come do more things with us.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be traveling with us in 2 months.
Yeah.
You'll come to one of the orphanages that we take care of, building another facility for you in the coming 18 months. I don't care if people watching social media say, oh, that's just for content. I'm not concerned what social media has to think or say or their opinion. You'll be there. You're going to interact with the kids. You're going to see what it is we do, because you stepped up to come be part of what we do. I don't need social media to know that. It's irrelevant what broke minds, simple minds, and angry minds think about what we do, because they've already made their decisions on who we are. Oh, they have more than you. They must have done something immoral, unethical. It's too good to be true. They're just trying to sell a course. That's the way a simple mind keeps themselves from having to look in the mirror and say, I could do better, but it takes work. What they do is they say, nope, that's some type of scam. So then they never have to elevate themselves. They can sit at their little simple mind tables, their little bulk mindset tables, and talk about whatever it is that broke minds talk about. Gossip, all inclusion, resorts where they're going to get drunk for a week. Whatever. Go online. Oh, we need to be supporting this group today. So we're angry at these people. Oh, this says that we should be angry at this country. Oh, we should hate this politician. Every day they wake up and look for what it is that they're going to go freedom fight for the comfort of their keyboard. Guess that's one way to live. I'd rather have coffee with friends. I'd rather distribute pieces of equity to people who've earned it over years.
Mm-hmm.
These are people that have been with us for 5 years already, coming up in April. To me, this is just a gesture because they grew with us.
Yeah.
There's nothing special about this. I don't care if people are, well, that's not true. That's just for content. I didn't ask to put it on here. You want to talk about watches. So
Yeah.
how are they in this box? They exist, clearly. Pretty in the box.
Yeah.
So I don't really, nothing against your audience. I don't know them personally. I'm not really concerned how they view this media. This is just what happens around the world. There's cause and there's effect. You put no effort in, you get no results out. You put effort in, you get results. In the games that we're playing globally, they're just higher results because there's no effort based on knowing more.
Well, I think the other thing that people lose touch of in like younger generations is seeing things in the long range. Even if it's under the principle of like people are meant to kind of work together as a community.
Where did we get away from that?
In North America, it's definitely in decline with people who are very westernized, where they're like, it's me against the world. But what I know to be true is if you can like nurture a group of like-minded people, and you take that over the span of 10 years, everybody's growth is going to be exponential. If you take somebody out of that group, it's going to negatively impact them.
Yes, a quality individual only helps a group. It's funny, we were just having a conversation sitting over there yesterday. And a bowl of ramen had just been brought out. And most of you guys know that when I travel, I love food. So that is, you're going to get the most honest reaction out of me. This stuff is all business and bullshit. I don't care.
Yeah.
You give me food and then I'm happy. So a bowl of ramen comes out. And the example I used is, yes, you can try and be a master at everything. You can compete when you get a business, but the wealthy don't compete. They just pool their resources. And it's so much more efficient because then let's say there's $1 billion idea that's got to be executed. You want to do one, I want to do one. If we're against each other, let's say there's a product that we need to sell when we do this, I have to spend $1 billion to build it. You have to spend $1 billion to build it. And then we have to spend money to advertise and compete against each other. North Americans just like to slander each other and all that kind of bullshit. So I simplified it and brought it down to that bowl of ramen. I said, look, there's 5 components in this bowl of ramen. There's going to be another shop right across the road that sells a bowl of ramen. There's 5 components here. Imagine one chef trying to master the creation of all the grilled pork, those homemade noodles, the egg being cooked absolutely perfect, the broth being made. A Michelin restaurant does not have one chef that makes all those components. There is someone brought in who's a grill meat expert. That sounds stupid, but these are people that this is a restaurant that's at the top of the leaderboard in the Michelin standings, or just understood to be one of the best restaurants. They have an image to uphold and they want to create, you call it ramen, they're calling it a masterpiece in their menu. This is what they're going to be remembered by, this bowl of ramen. They're going to bring in best meat ranges. They're going to bring in the best noodle makers. They're going to bring in the people that understand how to choose the best eggs long before they prepare it to put it in the sea. This family has been known to make the best broth for centuries. Here, bring them. All these people understand that the goal is the perfect bowl of ramen. If one person tries to do what the other person's best at, the final result is going to be worth less. It's going to ruin the whole thing. But if they all work together and no one takes more credit than anyone else, they all get to go down in history as creating the perfect bowl of ramen. That sounds like I'm being an idiot. That sounds like this doesn't make sense. Why would you compare business to that? Because that's what a group does. Everybody brings in their best asset so that everybody wins. These 5 people don't take what their specialty at and do the other things subpar just so they can say, I own the best ramen. Then this person says the exact same thing, but they're all wrong. They have the best individual piece in a 5-piece bowl, but they don't actually have the best bowl. Broke mindsets are actually the greedy, the wealthy aren't. But what happens when the wealthy work together? True, with $1 billion idea, we just each put in $500 million. Now I've just lowered my investment liability. Now I don't really have to market it as much or compete with you. So I have to have an investment budget. We're just literally going to use, we're going to go the route of social media. We'll take influencers. We'll have Michelin in. Do you see the difference between the way the wealthy do it? The wealthy don't compete. Competition costs money. Broke people do it all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny. It reminds me of a common school assignment that they do for elementary kids with the assembly line. And they'll usually like take a picture of the old Ford Model T or whatever. And I remember when I was in elementary, we would have like different segments of desks throughout the classroom. And each kid was responsible for a different component of the assembly line so that we could see if somebody specialized in one component of the car and passed on the next person, passed on the next person, passed on the next person. The speed of creating the car and the quality of the car was higher than if you put a stack of these car templates in front of somebody and told them to do it independently and compete with the person next to them. And it's just like we're given evidence that it works. And another one is just like how even just like Asian and European families work together versus how a lot of Western families they'll kind of divide.
Yeah,
And be like,
because
"I'm
I
gonna
need
show them."
my house. I need
Yeah.
my car. See how it always comes back to I need it mine.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't live in your parents' basement because I can't show off a house if I live with my mom, parents. It's that.
Yeah.
Ever to untrain yourself when you think like a simple mind.
Yeah. But it's just if people zoom out and see it in big picture, then things make more sense. But if they stay zoomed in, it'll never make sense. Like they'll always be like, "Oh, it's too good to be true."
Because they build towards something, but they don't know what they're building towards. They just do it based on, I'm going to do this today. And hopefully the outcome is what I get. We've tried. Impressively, is that something that you do? You put your target up on the board and you walk backwards to figure out how to get there. If all you know is what you currently know, you can only apply what you know. You will never get a better result than anything you've already achieved because you only know what you know. So till you add more knowledge, you don't even know how to work at the next level, apply yourself at the next level, because you don't just do more of what wasn't working. Working more hours of a job that isn't making ends meet does not give you a better result. It means you get taxed more. And this is where I think a lot of the simple and broke mindsets get upset at the wealthy because they think the wealthy should make more per hour. The wealthy have got multiple sources of revenue that they set up over the last 5, 10, 15 years. So every hour of every day, they're being paid from paid, as in their equity is going from multiple streams of equitable bill. The average person goes to work for 8 hours a day. They only monetize 8 hours a day, and employees nowadays are a huge liability because you don't even get 8 real hours of work. You can tell because they're also on social media scrolling and commenting during their workday. So they're not even giving their employee what they signed up for. Then they go home and they've got 16 hours and nothing. Typically binge watching TV, going out for drinks, pretending they don't have enough time to go to the gym, whatever it is you do for the other 2/3 of your day, and then they get upset because they don't have big results. The wealthy have put everything in place where 24 hours a day, 3, 4, 8, 10 sources of equity building are happening at the same time. So 24 hours a day, 3 different sources of equity building are coming in. You've just done 72 hours of work to a minimal mindset because you put everything in place. So any given point in time, every hour yields multiples. That's the one thing that is never understood. They don't make more per hour. Their equity is just growing every hour of every day. There's no weekends. There's no holidays. It's just worth more. Sometimes there'll be dips in markets or whatever you invested in. But every day, 24 hours a day is working on multi-levels. So the wealthy have created a way to have more than 24 hours a day because every hour is doing multiple things. They're getting 100 or 200 or 1,000 hours a day worth of return. Now, if whoever didn't understand what I just said, the moment you understand that, everything about the wealthy will make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
I got some goodies in here if you want to.
Yes.
Real goodies.
Let's dig in.
You said you didn't just want to talk about watches on your channel. You said you wanted to actually see things like precious metals.
Yeah.
So it wasn't intentional, but this is doing it for something else. I'm going to keep it facing this way. So I'm set.
Yeah.
Let's go to the precious metals market just to explain. Doesn't matter what I do during the day because once in here, will change value every second of every day. Protective layer. This is, can you read that? If not, it's okay. This is an ounce of pure silver. As you know, silver has skyrocketed in the last year. When we started our programs and we started talking about this kind of stuff to you guys openly, this ounce was worth, the day that we started, April 2nd of 2020, this was $15.65 US. This is technically worth more because it's minted. It's got a serial number. It says the purity of it, and it's gone through a process where it's called minted. There's bullion and then there's minted. So this is essentially, you could call it currency. This is trackable, traceable, and all that. It's pure silver. As of yesterday, when I looked at the markets, this was $77. That's 500% growth. That growth happened while I was doing everything else that I was doing for the last 5 years. I hope that simplified what I just said 3 or 4 minutes ago. This went up in value. I'm not saying buy silver, but I'm giving you an example. I mean, this whole case was that example. All I have to do is wear a watch, or not wear a watch, or leave it in a case, or put it in a safe. And if you have the right ones, it's generating equity. You're not getting paid because you haven't sold it. So don't think of getting paid every hour to make more money. You don't need to get paid if, when you want to retire 30, 40 years later, what's in here is worth 500%. This could go down to $50 tomorrow. This could go up to $120. It doesn't matter. Its value is more than what it was paid for, and I don't have to go out and earn it every day. Let me put that down there.
Mm-hmm.
What if you then had 2 10-ounce bars?
Mm-hmm.
These would have been $150 US at the same time of that. But now, with the price yesterday, they're $770 US a piece. More because they're minted and they're quality checked. So they're probably worth 18% more. I could literally go and trade this for something that I wanted that was $900 US. And if I bought it for 150, I just acquired something I wanted for 1/5 the price. I didn't leverage anything. I just took something that I paid little for, grew, because money doesn't grow, grew in value, and then traded it for something that I wanted. Sure, these are.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen the videos of us boring them. Now this is what's called bullion. So this is it's been inspected, so you know that it reaches that quality standard of minimum 99.5% pure. 99.99 is considered industry standard pure gold. If it's not taken through the polishing process and minted and detailed, it's just called bullion. And this can be used as trade for just the raw weight of it. There's no extra minting value to it. That's 10 ounces of gold. Damn. 20 in total. So if you look back at the cost again, when we started our programs, it was 16 out to yesterday. It was 7. It ranged throughout the day. The highest it was that day was $1,709 US. Gold yesterday was 4,417 or 71. I don't remember which way they said. It doesn't matter. So it's 260% up. That's for raw gold, not minted or anything like that. So that would make each of these bars worth $44,000 US. So you got almost $100,000. How can this be $100,000? Because someone put value on it. What is it used for? Someone breaks in, I can hit them with it? No, we've determined that that's what the value of this stupid metal right here is worth. But that's not even the most expensive metal you can trade. I'm just making examples. This is something that a jeweler could take, cut up, melt, and turn in what they need, or maybe your dental prosthetics and stuff like that. But that's just gold. This is what we got here. Does anyone even know what rhodium is?
I mean, I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it like that before.
Do you have your camera or your phone with you?
Yeah.
What is the spot price of rhodium right now?
Hold on.
Same thing. 10-ounce bars of rhodium. They got this really cool design on them. But this is also just Boolean. It's just quickly stamped with a look.
Mm-hmm. Saying just short of 10,000 per ounce, 9,925
Canadian?
It's moneymetals.com, so I'm gonna say that might be US.
Okay. Look, I don't even know because we refine. I have no idea what the market value is. So that would mean each of these bars is $100,000. We can buy houses now. It wasn't $100,000 at one point. Its value kept going up, which means if you purchase it and hold it for long enough, and then retroactively apply it to the 10 years ago that you bought it, every year it was worth, your time was worth exponentially more because you set the investment in place 10 years ago. We just used the example of the last 5 years, April to April. No clue how that is. So if I can use any example at all for the wealth mindset and the average mindset, is that I don't have to, if this is mine, something as simple as the ounce of silver, which went up 500%, the gold, the rhodium, it doesn't matter. I don't have to go to work tomorrow for something that I acquire that's going to go up over time. So it doesn't matter if it's up today, down tomorrow. Over time, it'll be up. Go to work for money and complain that these people have more because you're sure you know they do it wrong, or you go and learn and put in the same 5 or 10 years so you're somewhere between here and there by then. Don't compare with them. Learn what they know. I don't get worked up when these people go off and say what they say, because typically people are hurting right now. It's very difficult to buy a full cart of groceries right now. It's very difficult to make mortgage payments and stuff like that. I'm not shitting on people for not knowing. I get a little disappointed when they'd rather just assume they know what's going on because that's what everybody else at their table of knowledge says. Go out and understand how. It's not going to change your life right away. Your mindset will start to shift really quickly. That you can shift, but you have to apply what you've learned into making your life better. We found, even just with the social experiments, I don't need to call you guys that, but that's kind of what it was. We didn't know what result was going to come from it. At minimum, we thought, cool, maybe some more people will come help us feed in the community. But then we'd see after 6, 12, 18 months, starting businesses, expanding businesses, leaving behind old hourly salaries and wages for using 24 hours a day to grow business. It doesn't mean you have to work all 24, but it means that if you're a night person and you're on the internet anyways, you can be working at 10 o'clock at night or 1 in the morning. To me, that was normal because when I didn't have access to the internet. Yeah. But I didn't have access to the internet in the capacity that you guys do now. So if I did business in Japan, when everybody else is going to bed here at 10 o'clock, your markets are opening in Japan. So I don't get to go to bed at 10. I got to go to bed at 10 when I'm done doing business in Japan, because that was my time zone. But I'm also doing something here, so I have to be awake for the 8 hours of revenue generation here, because I would still keep my, they were going back years. So that was normal to me. But now you guys have the option of doing that, because if your world is online, it doesn't matter when yes, you can schedule content for when it's mostly viewed by your demographic, but it does not matter when you created it.
Mm-hmm.
You know that you got to put, let's say this video you're doing right now, 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. You don't need to use this for 2 weeks until it's the opportune time for you to use it. That call that I had to make to Japan 26 years ago had to happen at that moment when I couldn't be sleeping.
Yeah.
I might not have been at my peak performance that day. But you could have set this up so that you had the perfect amount of sleep, your brain was working, you could get caffeinated and do everything under your terms, and somehow people have called this world negative. They've said somehow you're being oppressed with American lifestyle. Yeah. That kind of stuff frustrates me because I know what I had to go through. to get where I was. The generation before me had no access to the internet, didn't have a cell phone, didn't even have pagers at that point, didn't even have a car with traction control. Didn't have access to credit. Trust me, our generation didn't create the credit crisis. Credit wasn't given out like it is now.
Yeah.
That's where I get frustrated, because the people of now are so used to how convenient the world is that they actually think that they should get more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to really piss some people off with this one, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
You know how one of the things that people say is clean drinking water is a basic human right. So if you say anything, not necessarily contrary to that, but trying to enlighten them onto how ignorant they actually just spoke. Do you notice the people that demand things expect or feel entitled to what someone with a greater thought process than them created? We're used to turning on the taps and having clean drinking water. Yes, ideally everyone would have safe, clean drinking water. 100 years ago in this city, and current day in 70% of the world, that turning on the tap for clean water did not exist, but that's normal now. In many places in the world, you have to go find water, take it out of a well, and probably boil it. There's your clean drinking water. So absolutely, everyone should have clean drinking water. But how do you take that and demand that whatever business or person thought of taking the water out of a well, the river, whatever, chlorinating it, cleaning it up, putting it through a process, and then pumping it to your house is what you deserve? Because that's your normal. Everyone should have this. Really? Do you have the $1 billion to set that up? No, it's a basic human right. And if you say anything else, you're basically one of those people that say people shouldn't have clean drinking water. I didn't say that. There's snow all over the city. Go get a pot, go get it, melt it, boil it, and drink it. There's your clean drinking water. Well, I shouldn't have to do what should be a basic human right. No, you're saying that you are entitled to what someone else created. And if you're going to go melt that water and boil it on a stove, who says you get a stove? We used to cook over fire that we had to learn how to build. You get a stove that someone else set up a company to learn how to build, or you built it, evolved it, and now you have one in your home, not even a community one. And then you're going to turn on the electricity that someone had to create and build $1 billion facility, and then all the infrastructure to get it to your house so you can just go, I deserve this, and turn it on. If you actually listen to how weak mindsets talk, you understand exactly why they're where they are. I absolutely believe everyone should have clean drinking water, should have access to public health, but not at the expense of saying, we deserve everything that people greater than us thought of. Took them a lifetime to achieve. We should just have it. Sounds pretty stupid when you actually say it out loud what these people demand.
I always think about it as when you reveal a gap, there's like a huge opportunity. And like one example I'll think of is among all the YouTubers and stuff out there, there's like Mr. Beast and Mark Rober, and they're very innovative. And they can address the gap of specific communities internationally that might be lacking like clean drinking water. But then they innovate and they come up with a product, but then they're needing to fund this. And so they create something so compelling that the ad revenue funds it at such a degree that they still get a profit margin. And rather than being like, well, they deserve it, they just came up with a model to put it out there, and they still profited and nobody took a loss. But then at the same time, even with that example, people get mad at those guys.
How dare you make a profit?
Yeah.
Sad. Who's programmed these minds to believe that what are they doing so great in their world other than criticizing that makes them think that the problem with freedom of speech is that everybody thinks what they have to say is valuable or intellectual? Why do people not level up their mindset? Because that takes effort. The average person doesn't want to put in an effort or anything that's required. There's a little bit of resistance on. So they find giant rooms of people just like them to sit in, and in their group, what they believe is the truth. They don't actually have to learn more because they've got enough people applauding them every time they make a comment applauding them every time they perpetuate complete ignorance and take a shot at whatever demographic they feel is oppressing them. Imagine the ignorance of being able to be in a giant room where coffee is made for you, it's warm, the lights are on. Someone else has taken the time to create all of this, build the building, wire it up, have all the beautiful lights, a beautiful espresso machine. You can have a cocktail, you can have some wine, you can order off a menu and someone will cook and bring you food and sit there as a group and collectively think you're oppressed. Just let people talk, let people show you their actions, and you know everything you need to know about them. And you know that they know less than a fraction of what they think they know.
Yeah. I always liken it to the crab bucket mentality, where like the crab in the bucket isn't going to let anybody get out. And I'm like, I got to stay out of those buckets.
The most detrimental thing you can do is sit with people who just agree with negativity. Are there things that need to be corrected in the world? Yes. Will cancel culture ever correct them? No. Will complaining about it ever correct it? No. Will being an advocate for awareness ever correct anything? No. Because the only people you're reaching when you're raising awareness is other people who spend their time online searching up the shit to complain about. The people who are actually doing things aren't on social media reading that shit. They might show you when they're done. Oh, right. I didn't post a thing about the school that was built in Africa for the last 7 weeks. Whole group had to go down there. It had to be funded. Dug a bunch of wells, built the school. Don't care if social media knows about it. You know about it now, and whoever watching this knows. I'm not going to post a bunch of pictures of some African children to try and make my white ass feel good. It has nothing to do with where it was done and who did it. It needed to be done. It got done. It had no, well, this is because of slavery at some point in time. This is because of the patriarchy or gender this or whatever it is people go online to argue about. This was needed. These people over here are doers. We're going to go do this. These people over here just say that something should be done by someone other than them. That's why they demonize all the other groups, because they say, those people, those billionaires, aren't doing anything. Well, why don't you become a billionaire and go do what you say they could do? Don't tell me you don't know my situation. This cup of coffee ain't going to drink itself. I can't go out and build a school. It's unsafe for me because I'm this. Wow, you got a lot of excuses preloaded. You put a lot of your time, which is your currency, into coming up with excuses that make you sound like a victim. Hey, stay over that thing.
I always like to learn like the character arc that the people who have become successful had to become successful. Because once you get good at learning that, then you realize like we're all the same. We're just specks on a floating rock. And it's how we apply our...
We are really insignificant. Think about it.
Yeah.
If our rock runs into another rock, none of this metal matters. None of these watches matter. This coffee doesn't matter. It's just, boom.
Yep. All gone.
So how can the world be so great or so terrible or so mediocre if it can all be zeroed out and equal nothing? There'll be no one left to remember. The yachts don't matter. The poverty doesn't matter. So what do you do in the days before nothing exists? You started from nothing. We'll get there eventually. Don't know when that is. But what do you do in the middle days? Do you waste your time being upset? Do you use your time to grow your value? Sit at tables where other people want to do the same thing, and then all together you make the change, be the change that you want to see in the world. I don't care which one you do, but realize that time is finite. Sorry, our time is finite. Time is not finite. Time will never stop. What we exist in will stop one day. There's natural causes, playing pinball together, who knows? If you're going to spend all your days doing what the angry people do, I hope they don't expect a fulfilling life from that.
Yeah.
I know exactly what they get out of that.
It's like when you watch people over the course of 10 years and you see how real that statement is, like, it's humbling, like, to see somebody in the same spot that they were 10 years ago and realize it was simply because of their mindset, and then see somebody else who's like, they've done tremendous things and it's coincidentally benefited a lot of other people. And it's all just because of mindset.
And you won't even, when you set out to do positive things, I'm not talking raise awareness or camp culture, I mean like the action that actually is the catalyst for good things. You don't typically do that expecting personal, anything other than the self-gratification of doing something for the world. You'll never know just how big of an impact it was. Chances are it won't do something negative, but you'll never know how great it could be.
Mm-hmm.
What if that school you built last month gives a child the opportunity to get into medicine, and they do a breakthrough 20 years from now that cures something, treats something, heals something, strengthens a community? They may or may not say, oh, this was done because a group of people did. They may or may not say that. But that is a very real possibility. If you don't have a school, I guarantee you, it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment you have a school, at minimum, there's a place to go to stay out of the elements.
Yeah.
To use a book, because we don't use books anymore, that someone else threw away from their overprivileged education system somewhere else in the world. So they put it on a pallet, shipped it somewhere, and now those books have a place. Maybe it's going to teach someone to read, learn a new language, learn math, the fundamental of the universe, math. There's no feelings in math. It doesn't require language to understand math. It requires building the understanding. Those building blocks, when given to someone with a mind that wants to learn, that's the way that I look at it. And I don't worry about what I see immediately. I'm not worried about the social media seeing it. What I need is I need a world that's better once I've left than it was when I came into it.
Mm-hmm.
We're fighting a really big challenge right now because a lot of people are just negative because it's easier. Hating is free, which is why most people are doing it. Being positive actually costs you some time.
Yeah, I mean, what I witness is sometimes people will create like a community of negative mindset thinkers because you can kind of control what they think is true when they're in a negative mindset. Like it seems that people are a lot easier to manipulate when they think that there's like a common enemy.
Yep. If you think of any regime in history that we look back on through our books or online courses or whatever and see how someone rose to power, it's always been done the same way. Demonize this group and get everyone supporting you so they either elect you in or don't stop you when you take let's say a forceful leadership role. Every one of the dictators or evil people that we've remembered in history, that's how they did it. And that's the funny thing about the woke community is they think they're so intelligent and they can read the world, but they were manipulated into believing what they think they know by groups that just came in and said, you're oppressed by this group. Vote for us. We'll look after you. Even if your group is made up in your head, you're oppressed. That's why you're not getting it. Not because you sit there and do whatever it is you do all day and complain. We're going to tell you that you're actually oppressed. It's by your mindset. But we're going to say that this demographic oppresses you, vote for us. It's very easy to watch people get manipulated over the last 12 to 15 to 20 years just by creating an enemy. Not by saying, oh, we're going to unite the country to do better. No one wants to hear that shit. They want to hear how their life is terrible. You're going to make it better by representing. You don't run a country by representing individual groups. You run a country by making the finances and the economics of the country strong. So how did we get to the point where you're voting based on your personal? Well, look back to the greed of the simple mind. The wealthy don't even vote because there's so few of them. They can't offset a selfish, simple mindset, the broke mindset who votes for what they want, not what runs the country the best. See how it always circles back to, I want the Mercedes. I want to own the watch. I want to say that is mine. I want my opinion represented by a government. Opinions aren't supposed to be represented in running a country. Math is. So if we've forgotten that here, we'll make sure we teach math in Africa, in the middle of China, in South America, where they need a school. And we're not forcing a belief system on it. There isn't a religion handbook that they have to read in order to be granted the access to this knowledge or this school. There's no slogans used. There's no worship anybody. No, we're going to build this. Have fun with them. Go play whatever they want to play. Talk about whatever they want to talk about. build that communication. But we don't even speak the same languages, but somehow we understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put my life into that. Instead of pretending everything around us is a system of oppression.
Yep, that it makes sense. And I think if people have trouble thinking about it that way, if they just like block their social media apps on their phone for a good chunk of the day, or if they go touch grass, go for a walk without their devices, like it helps calm all the noise. And you start to realize like just how many opportunities that you have, no matter what level you're at. Like even when we're thinking about like having shelter, like a lot of people who feel that they have been mistreated still have some form of shelter. And in most cases, they have their cell phone. But
again, I didn't have a cell phone. I was doing business at the beginning, or occasionally finally got into one of those big Motorola bricks that you warm your head up if you talk for more than 30 seconds. The ignorance that comes from hate, it is that not seeing what you have, the expectation that you are owed by society. Not that you should be, that you should have to work for more. You should be handed more because more exists. Okay. Okay with that. You can think whatever you want. Doesn't affect whether I sleep at night. The only thing that changes the way I sleep at night is how active my brain is on what am I going to accomplish in 2026? Whose lives are we going to make better? Are we building another school or hospital? How quickly can we get that done? Who do we call to make this happen in this country? That's what moves per week. People keep literally with their hate driving nails through their feet to hold them in place. Does not have head don't any thumbs. Don't have the time. And look at that. 24 hours today. But because I've layered my life, it's probably 200 hours worth of a day. And if no one, again, understands what I just said, then it's not relevant to them. If I lose a day wasting time, I've lost possibly 200 hours worth of growth in my life. Looks like people are trying to get a hold. I don't know why. Apparently, you fly back to town and everything.
Yeah, but this has been a great segment, so thanks again.
Oh, anytime. I love what you're doing here with the new channel. I think it's, I hope it changes a lot of mindsets so they understand. None of this is flexing. I can help. I guess the value of being able to bring what our group does to you can physically touch this. It's not just talked about like say social media. You can hold it, you can understand the intricacies of everything that's done. And let's talk about it without bias. That bar of gold is a bar of gold whether you don't like it, do like it, get involved with precious metals, don't get involved, wear gold, don't wear gold. It doesn't matter. It's still a bar of gold. Being able to hold it and talk about a process helps in understanding. There's no happy, there's no sad, there's no angry. We don't even have to talk about capitalism and politics. It is 10 ounces of gold. This is its current market value. Where was it before? What is that? It's just math and numbers. Math and numbers is the universal understanding so that everyone can talk to everyone. You get people who say, oh, math is just a social construct. Yeah, everything's a social construct built by society so society can understand each other before the words that we use were refined enough to create a language. So yeah, everything's a social construct. Even your stupid beliefs in your little group that keep you over there and you think protected from this oppressive world, your society, so you constructed that delusion. Also a social construct. So stop using these like you think you're superior social construct. Yeah, we made math so you understood. This is an understanding. Hate is a different kind of understanding. Except they don't understand that's what keeps them down. This won't guarantee to build you up, but if you understand this world, there's another possibility for you to better your life. And that's why I'll take the time to actually show this to us stuff. Not a flex. It's an understanding. Because this is basically all being given away and turned into gifts. Don't care. because there's a lot of people who do very good things and they should be rewarded because society does, the social construct of a society doesn't really reward good people in progressive societies anymore. They're just a target for people who don't achieve. We like to make sure that they get something out of it. Even if something like this is leveraged to buy more food, people eat.
Yep.
And that is the basic human interaction, is feeding people. 100 years ago, in the town that my grandparents were from, if a weary traveler came by and they looked like they could use a meal, you didn't, oh, is this person going to rob me? Is this safe? What nationality are they? What religious beliefs are there? Do we even share a language? That wasn't even brought up 100 years ago. Come on in, you look like you could have some food. Even if you didn't understand the words, you bring out the bread, you bring out, you get water, small, the rest of that was normal. We've made that exceptional behavior now and unsafe. Okay. I'll just work within our groups to create a world where that makes sense again. We'll socially construct it. All right. Appreciate you, Devin. That's cool.
Yeah.